All right, so get ready for this. Our deep dive today is a little different. We're taking a look at fan fiction.
The fan fiction.
Yeah, fan fiction. But hold on. Before you think we've gone totally off the rails, this particular story, The Midnight Accord, well, it gets pretty deep.
Deeper than your average Draco-Hermione romance.
Oh, yeah, way deeper. This isn't just like shipping and fluff. It uses this familiar backdrop, Hogwarts, but it's years after the war, and things are, well, they're not exactly back to normal. And through these characters, it explores some really complex themes like legacy, redemption, forgiveness.
Yeah?
You know, the heavy stuff.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So what's the setup? What's going on at Hogwarts that requires fan fiction to fix it?
So picture this. Hogwarts is trying to heal, right, but there are still all these like lingering secrets and tensions from the war, and right in the middle of it all are these two characters you wouldn't expect to see working together. Draco Malfoy and Hermione Granger.
Ah, the classic enemies to lovers trope.
No, not even close. This isn't a romance. It's more like they're forced to work together because of their own individual goals. Draco is desperately trying to break this mysterious family curse that's been hanging over him. And Hermione is investigating this weird magical anomaly that's messing with Hogwarts itself.
Wait, so they're both back at Hogwarts? Years after the war? I mean, what are they even doing there? I thought everyone was, like, trying to move on with their lives.
Right, you'd think so, but the story does a good job of explaining why they're drawn back to Hogwarts. Draco, well, he's obviously haunted by his family's dark past and is looking for a way to break free from it. And Hermione, ever the brilliant witch, she's drawn to this magical disturbance that seems to be tied to Hogwarts' very core.
So it's like they're both trying to fix something, but for different reasons.
Exactly. And their paths collide in the most Hogwartsy way possible. Imagine the library, late at night, you know, with those towering bookshelves and that musty smell. Hermione is there, surrounded by mountains of books, completely absorbed in her research. And then, out of the shadows, appears Draco Malfoy.
Oh, I can already feel the tension. Like, talk about an awkward reunion.
Seriously, you can practically cut the tension with a wand. And the story keeps that going. It's not like they suddenly become best friends. But what's fascinating is how their quests, which seem totally unrelated at first, they start to, like, intertwine. And that leads them to this ancient magical relic called the Mirror of Mended Fates.
A Mirror of Mended Fates. Okay, that sounds intense. What does it do? Does it tell you your future or something?
No, it's way more complicated than that. The story never reveals all its secrets, but it seems like this mirror can absorb and transform dark energies, especially ones tied to, like, cursed legacies. It's like it offers a chance for a clean slate, a way to break free from the chains of the past.
Wow, that's pretty powerful stuff.
Okay.
But there's got to be a catch, right? Magic always has a price.
Oh yeah, there's definitely a catch. The mirror needs two very specific people to activate it. One whose soul has been shaped by darkness and another shaped by light.
So it's like cosmic balance or something. Light and dark working together.
Exactly. And the story kind of makes you think about, like, are people truly just good or evil? Or is there always this mix within us? And guess who embodies those two sides perfectly?
Draco and Hermione, right? It's like the universe is playing a cosmic joke.
It really is. You have Draco, weighed down by his family's dark history, desperately seeking redemption. And then you have Hermione, this beacon of light and goodness, but who's also seen the horrors of war firsthand.
So, okay, they have this mirror. They know they need to work together. But how do they even begin to figure out how to use it? Do they have instructions or something?
Well, that's where their individual skills come into play. Draco, with his, kind of sly way of thinking, he's great at deciphering clues, the ones hidden in ancient texts and symbols. While Hermione, she's all about research and logic. Her methodical approach keeps them grounded and focused.
It's like a magical detective duo, but with, like, all the emotional baggage of their past.
It's fantastic. And it gets even better. They're not just wandering around Hogwarts randomly looking for clues. The castle itself, helps them. Secret passageways open up, forgotten chambers reveal themselves. Hogwarts is a character in the story, guiding them towards the truth.
Wait, the castle's helping them? That's so cool. I mean, it makes sense in a way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hogwarts has always been this place of magic and mystery, so it's almost like it's invested in seeing this curse broken.
I know, it's amazing. The deeper Draco and Hermione go, the more it feels like Hogwarts itself is, rooting for them. Okay, so they're unraveling this mystery, the castle is helping them, and eventually they find this mirror chamber. What's it like?
It's described as this breathtakingly beautiful space, bathed in this otherworldly glow, with the Mirror of Mended Fates at its center.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a twist. This mirror doesn't show your outward appearance. It shows you your true self, like your inner scars, your hidden desires, your true potential.
Wow, so it's not just about looks, it's about like confronting who you really are on the inside. I can see why that would be both terrifying and maybe even a little liberating.
It's definitely both. And I think that duality is what makes this story so compelling. It's about identity, about the burdens we carry, and about the potential we all have to change.
Okay, so they found the mirror, they know they have to activate it together. But HOW, what actually happens? Do they have to, like, hold hands and sing Kumbaya?
That's where things get really interesting, and that's where we'll pick up in part 2 of our deep dive.
All right, so last time, things were getting pretty intense. Draco and Hermione found that crazy mirror, the one that shows your true self. And to make it work, they have to, like, combine their magic. I'm still a little fuzzy on how that whole thing works.
Yeah, it's not just combining magic. It's deeper than that, like a merging of essences. The story is very specific. It has to be one soul marked by darkness and one by light, and they have to work together. And honestly, that's where this whole thing gets really interesting. Up to this point, it's been a mystery, right? Clues and riddles and hidden chambers. But now it becomes about trust. Can these two, with all their history, actually trust each other enough to use this mirror?
Okay, yeah, good point. That's a big ask. Knowing these two, I wouldn't want to be in that room with them. But they've come this far. They're in the mirror chamber. They're both desperate. What happens when they actually try to activate it?
Oh, it's intense. The scene is this clash of energies, light and dark swirling together. They both reach out, touch the mirror, and bam! This huge surge of magic just explodes outwards. The story describes it as this beautiful, terrifying wave of power, light, and shadow all mixed up, washing over them both.
Whoa, hold on. Is it, like, painful? Do they pass out? What happens to them physically when all that magic hits?
It's more than just physical. It's like their souls are laid bare. All their defenses, everything they've been hiding, it's all exposed. And in that moment of complete vulnerability, something shifts between them. It's not like romantic or anything, but there's this new understanding, this recognition that they're both more than the labels they've been carrying around.
Wow, that gives me chills. But does it, actually work? Does the curse break? Does Hermione, like, absorb some of Draco's darkness, or what?
It's subtle. The story suggests the darkness clinging to Draco. The curse, it starts to fade. Not all at once, but he feels lighter. There's this sense of hope he hasn't felt before. But here's the thing, it affects Hermione too. It's like the mirror doesn't just get rid of darkness, it creates balance, brings them both closer to, well, wholeness.
Okay, hold up. You mentioned before how the castle was helping them. Was that just to find the mirror? Or does Hogwarts have, like, a bitter will to play in all of this?
That's what's so clever about this story. Hogwarts isn't just a setting, it's like this living, breathing entity tied to the mirror. The story even hints that if the accord fails, if Draco and Hermione can't make it work, it could destabilize Hogwarts, maybe even destroy it. Talk about pressure.
No kidding. So it's not just about these two and their personal baggage. What they do actually affects the entire wizarding world.
Exactly. It makes you think about, how even our personal choices can have these huge ripple effects. We might think our actions only affect ourselves, but that's not always true, is it?
Right. It's like those butterfly effect memes. And speaking of choices and baggage, we have to talk about forgiveness. These two, they were on opposite sides of a war. It wasn't just some schoolyard rivalry. People died. How does the story deal with that? Can you really just, like, forgive and forget something like that?
It's handled really well. The author doesn't try to pretend it never happened or that it was no big deal. It acknowledges the pain and loss, but shows that growth and understanding are still possible. It's like they're both carrying these wounds, but instead of letting them define them, they choose to use them to build something new.
That reminds me of this time. Well, it wasn't a war or anything, but I had this huge falling out with a friend. We were on totally opposite sides of this big argument, and it got really nasty. Took a long time. But eventually, we found our way back to each other, and it wasn't about forgetting what happened. It was about choosing to move forward.
It's exactly that, choosing to heal. That's what the story gets at. Forgiveness isn't about saying what happened was okay. It's about saying we're going to choose something different now.
And it seems like that's what's happening in the wizarding world, too. Rebuilding after the war, trying to find some kind of common ground. It's like Draco and Hermione's journey is a reflection of what the whole society is going through.
Absolutely. It's a microcosm of the larger struggle. And, it's happening in this place Hogwarts that's so steeped in tradition, in old rivalries. For Draco and Hermione to even try this accord, it's a huge step. It's challenging the way things have always been. And the story doesn't shy away from showing that change is hard. People don't always welcome it.
Which, let's be real, is totally true in our world too. This whole story, even with the magic and curses, it feels so relevant to what we're dealing with today, Trying to bridge divides, heal from the past, build a better future.
It really makes you think about how legacies, not just family ones, but social and cultural ones, how they shape us. Can we break free from them? Should we? This story doesn't offer any easy answers, but it gives us a lot to think about.
And that's what I love about this deep dive. We started with fan fiction, and look where we ended up, talking about identity, forgiveness, the challenges of change.
It's proof that stories can surprise us. They can make us think and feel in ways we didn't expect. And that's powerful.
So we've talked about the characters, the setting, the big themes, but there's one thing I'm still stuck on. That mirror. It showed them their true selves. What did that even look like? What did they see?
That's the brilliant part. The story doesn't tell us. We get their reactions, the emotions, but the actual reflection that's left to our imaginations. And I think that's intentional. It forces you to confront your own assumptions about these characters, about yourself.
Oh, I see what you mean. It's like the story is asking us, what would you see in that mirror? What parts of yourself would you have to face?
And that is the mark of truly great storytelling, when it stays with you, when it makes you ask those tough questions.
Okay, so we've really gone deep here, but we're running out of time and there's one big question left. Does the Accord succeed? Do they break the curse? Do they save Hogwarts? What happens? All right, so big question, right? Does it work? Do Draco and Hermione save the day?
Well, it's not that simple. It's not like, poof, curse gone, everyone's happy. The story leaves some things open, but what we see is that change, real change, it takes time, effort, it's messy.
So no happily ever after, but also not a total disaster.
Exactly. The Accord, this whole alliance between Draco and Hermione, it disrupts the curse, weakens it, but doesn't just erase it completely.
So it's like even in a magical world, some things you can't just magically fix. You got to put in the work.
I think that's the point, yeah. And it makes sense, right? Even in our world, healing from trauma from the past, it's a process, not a one-time spell.
Makes sense. But what about Draco and Hermione? After all that, after sharing that moment with the mirror, what happens to them?
They're changed. It's not like a romantic thing. The story doesn't go there. But they're bound together now by this experience, this responsibility for Hogwarts. The author leaves it open, but you get the feeling their story is just beginning. Like the real work starts now.
Man, that's, it's hopeful, right? Even though it's not easy, like, oh, okay, the war is over, but now the real fight begins.
Yeah, and it's happening in this place, Hogwarts. That's all about tradition, old rivalries. So for them to even try this accord, it's a huge deal. Like they're saying, we're not going to be defined by the past anymore.
Which is, not an easy thing to do, not in their world and not in ours. We've got our own legacies to deal with.
Absolutely. And the story makes you think about that. How much of who we are is shaped by what came before? Family, society, all of it. Can we break free from that? Do we even want to? It's not an easy question.
It's not. And that's what I find so fascinating about this whole deep dive. Started with fan fiction, ended up talking about some really big real world stuff.
Right. It's proof that stories, even the ones we don't expect, they can make us think, challenge us.
So before we go, gotta ask, for you, what's the biggest takeaway from the Midnight Accord? What's that one thing that sticks with you?
For me, it's that we're all more than just one thing. We have darkness and light inside us. It's the choices we make that shape us, that create our legacy. It's about taking responsibility.
That's, that's a powerful thought. And honestly, a good note to end on.
Yeah.
So, to everyone listening, next time you encounter something that seems weird, outside your comfort zone, lean into it. You never know what amazing deep dive it might lead to. Until next time, keep exploring.